I know better than to listen to the people who are calling us slaves. I can feel the sun.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name's Brian, and today is Monday, January 15th, 2024, and this is episode 611 of the Lots Project podcast, and today's episode is titled Brrrrrr. It is cold, and that's what I'll be chatting about today. I'll be chatting about what went on over the weekend, cover all the cold weather preps that we made, getting ready for this little bit of a cold snap that we are in. And I will give you a little bit of a forecast, what we have coming up, and then how things are going so far, and some very much odds and ends to wrap the rest of that up. But first, let's check in with the coffee crew in the live chat, see who's hanging out, grab a cup of coffee, and we will chat for the next hour or so. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hey, Rewilder Life, how we doing? It is 7 o'clock already, and yeah, time has flown by. I got up late. I got out of bed late this morning. I will talk about that in a little bit, but it's chilly. It's chilly, and there is a shitload of snow outside, and I didn't ever want to see snow again if I could have avoided it. I wish I could have just seen it on TV or on the interwebs or someplace else, but sure as shit, we got 4 or 5 inches sitting outside right now. I think we got a little bit left to go today before it's gone. It is pretty thick cloud cover, and Corey did have to start work early today. So if I'm spotty, if I'm in and out, I apologize, but it is what it is. It is what it is for sure. Good morning, Pip. How we doing? Thanks for swinging in. And Yozik, how we do, my man? How is it going on? How is it going up in Ohio? Hope all is well. But let's get to it. It's back to Monday, and we'll talk about what's in the cup today. Breakfast blend. Still rolling with breakfast blend. Still going strong with the alternative brew method, with the waiting till the water is pretty much done. I've come to the conclusion that the timing is right to let the water just about start to whistle in the pot, and then flip open the front of the teapot, like where you pour it out, and it releases the heat enough that it takes the amount of time for me to grind the beans. Once the beans are ground, the water has cooled down to an appropriate temperature. So awesome. Good morning, Hunter. How we doing? Hanging out and holding the fort down over there on Twitch. And he says he wishes the boss wouldn't interrupt him. I mean, can't you just say you're busy? I got important shit going on. I am sorry. I'll get with you in about an hour. Yozik says pretty much like everywhere right now, it is cold. Yeah, that is pretty much what we got going on. Rachel says they got almost 2 feet. You can have it. This stuff this week, this snow, last night. Well, I guess it started flurrying yesterday afternoon, and it's still going now. This reassures my visceral and my decision to leave Minnesota. I guess our decision, Corey and I both decided, like, hold her hostage and tear her out of there. I think she would agree. I definitely think she would agree. As it's gotten colder, she's gotten more and more cold, and I think she remembered also that why we got the hell out of there. This snow is just the topper on the cake, and we're not even to the coldest part yet. We're not even to the coldest part yet. Pip says I'm not even going to say what the weather is in Florida. Not going to jinx it. Yeah, I don't know if you'll end up with snow down there, but I saw some people were kind of chilly up Jim's way. I got some family friends that are up there, and I saw on the Facety book that they were having a little bit of a chill too. So maybe not as cold as we are, but definitely a big old cold. A big old cold swath across the country for sure. Rachel says she loves it and she's in a good place. I'll be in a good place come next Sunday, I think. Is when I'm looking at the forecast and it's supposed to take a turn. I would even venture to say that I would take 50s and raining over this shit. I guess it was pretty bad the other morning. We stopped dog walks early because it was like a hurricane outside, and so we cut those off early, and they were soaking wet. So yeah, there is the rain part too. It is what it is. I don't know. Corey and I were poking around the country today or yesterday, Saturday or Sunday on the weather app, and it looks really nice in Arizona right now. Phoenix looked beautiful. It was supposed to be 70 with 50s and no rain or wet or nothing. Rewilder Life says she can't stand muddy season with 2 hairy dogs. Yeah, that's the other part. But in the snow with our dogs, they go outside. They go outside, and the snow just gets buried in all the layers of their fur, and then they come in and they're wet for hours. I don't know if it's worse when it rains and they just get the wet on their outer coat and you can just brush them off, or if the snow buries itself down in their fur and they get in their undercoat and get wet. So I don't know. Anyway, let's get on to it. Breakfast blend. Oh, I was going to mention Brian over at Food Forest Farms is working very, very hard at coming up with some new labels, some new names for the blend, and I want to thank you guys for helping inspire him, especially Kyle. I think Kyle was the first one that came up kind of a little bit with the bit that we were talking about Hector, my light Colombian that lives in my closet, in my coffee cupboard, and Brian kind of ran with that and realized that Hector and hectare. Hectare is the unit of measure for land in Latino countries, and so he made up a new label. He renamed it the Colombian, the light Colombian, Hectare, the light Colombian, and it has a picture of Hector on the label collecting beans. But hectare, and then the definition of a hectare. And so then he is going down the line and coming up with new educational terms and names for all the coffee. So cheers to you guys. Cheers to the Lots Project Coffee crew for coming up with a fantastic idea moving forward with Food Forest Farms coffee. So appreciate you guys every day. I definitely do. What went on this weekend? Stoic, Daily Stoic, I read over the weekend. It's still enjoying it very, very much. Still finding myself naturally reading deeper into every page. I think it has a lot to do with the fact that I'm just reading one page a day. And the 1 page a day is only like really a half a page. It's 2 to 4 paragraphs. And that's all I have to read. I think before, when I would sit down to read a book, I would be like, oh, I got to finish a chapter. I got to finish 2 chapters, or I got to finish 100 pages. This is 1 page. And I think being able to just dedicate that time to 1 page, I find myself really reading sentence to sentence, and then going back and reading the paragraph. And the way it's set up is the original text is at the top, well, close to the original text of a statement, paragraph, thought, couple paragraphs, and then at the bottom is the interpretation of it. And I find myself reading that original text like 2, maybe 3 times, really slow sentence by sentence, and then reading the interpretation 2 or 3 times, and then circling back and reading the whole thing again at least once. So I mean, it's definitely Good morning, K Bonk. How we doing? It's definitely worth the time, I think. If you're looking to pick it up, the link is in the video description and the audio description. But this weekend, it was a couple of solid passages. One was about clarity and focus and really staying on your own path, figuring out where you're really hold on, let me grab it right here, handy dandy on my bed. So it was Saturday. It was so long ago. It was Saturday was about vying, different people vying for your attention. Everybody's trying to get in. The apps, the food manufacturers, advertisers, everything is trying. And you really need to filter that all out and focus on what you decide, and then more about reasoning on Sunday, and not staying the path. Once you figure out how to reason and make your judgment for what it is, and you're solid in your understanding of what you believe, you can really filter out a lot of all the other opinions, not being swayed every day by different opinions or new information, because you're solid in the fact that you're walking the right path. So a little bit of taking away from the weekend. It was kind of a different schedule with all the prep we were doing for the cold and things like that. So excited to get back into the weekly routine and hit that when I normally do, and be able to contemplate it throughout the day. I wasn't getting to it until later in the day over the weekend, and then I had a little bit of time to stay up by myself in the evening. I'll talk about that just in a minute with our new cold routine that we came up with. There's some time that I'm staying up a little later, and I just grabbed the book and sat and thought about things. So more slept on it than anything. So Hunter says, so allegedly people remember singular episodes better versus binge watching. I suppose it's the same thing with reading. I proved that right. I couldn't even remember from Saturday and Sunday, so that was solid. A lot on my mind this morning, and they all are tying together. I think it was very purposeful. I think it was very, very purposeful in the way, the order in which things were put together. I think it was very purposeful in the how it was broken up over the year. There's different sections throughout the year. I think it goes by month or quarter. I can't remember when I looked at the table of contents, but the book is fantastic. Pip says it is the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without accepting it. I would wholeheartedly agree. And thanks, Rachel. Yeah, if you're in the chat or in watching the live stream, definitely hit that like button and subscribe if you're not subscribed. I think everybody that's hanging out in the mornings is already subscribed. But anyway, that was Daily Stoic for the day. I'm going to try to incorporate that in every morning. Like I said, it was kind of a sideways weekend, and I didn't end up getting a whole ton of show prep done until in the morning. So till this morning before the show, and 2 days to review of some deep thinking. Didn't make a ton of notes in my list here, but moving forward, that is a focus. What did we do over the weekend? We had a beautiful day on Saturday. So how the weekend was kind of laid out was it basically peaked on Saturday in the 40s. It was 40s and sunny. It was beautiful. Low to mid 40s. And then it started dropping. And the temperature started dropping in the afternoon, and it dropped overnight, and it didn't go up yesterday. It kind of like flatlined as the sun came up. It didn't really go back up in temp. It just kind of flatlined and then started to peter down over the afternoon. Started snowing in the afternoon and snowed all night. And currently we're sitting at about 15 degrees with snowy, and it's supposed to be windy all day, and we're supposed to have a high of 19. So we're below freezing, and it looked like from Saturday when it dipped below freezing, Saturday evening, Saturday overnight, that we weren't supposed to come back above freezing until Wednesday, I believe. And that was and that's barely. That's going to be sunny and 32, so we're not really above freezing. Thursday we're supposed to dip back below freezing again Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and then Thursday we're supposed to get almost up to 40. But then another little mini cold snap going into the weekend, and Sunday is when we're supposed to come out of it and have consistently above freezing temperatures, so day and nighttime. So basically a solid week of dealing with no water, no running water, excessive use of the wood stove, trying to keep everything warm, dealing with snow because I don't see it melting for at least a couple days. So dealing with the dogs in the snow. Corey just got back from morning dog takeout time and said that it's super slushy under all the snow. So that's just a mess. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here in Tennessee with the snow, because from my understanding, there aren't any snow plows. And there is definitely, there's definitely a significant amount of snow on the road, and it's sticking. So I don't know. It'll be kind of fun to watch. We're hopefully good to go without having to go anywhere for quite a while, so that's good. But the weekend, we decided we wanted to take that last morning where it was super nice. It was I think when we started it was 36 and sunny, 38 and sunny, something like that. But we went for a hike. We were going to go back to Chickasaw State Park and go for another hike. We had 2 trails out there that we didn't go on when we went the weekend prior, and we wanted to go a little further. So as we were driving out there, Corey and I decided, hey, we want to shoot for 5 miles. I used the trail map and kind of like started plotting things out and figuring out if we could find a route that was 5 miles. And sure as shit, we found one that was exactly 5 miles. We got to go on 2 new trails that we hadn't been on. So essentially, we've been on all the trails now that are in that area of the park. I think there's 1, maybe 2 other ones on the other side of the park, but they're short. I think we didn't really look at them because they weren't near the parking lot that we started using. But anyway, hike was awesome. Basically a hoodie and a long sleeve shirt, and yeah, it was great. It was these 2 trails were more intermediate trails, lots of topography, lots of ups and downs, and gorgeous. It was just a gorgeous day. We enjoyed it. We hit our 5 miles. We hit our 5 miles in under 2 hours, which I was happy with. I thought we kept a pretty good pace, and it worked out nice that the first couple trails were pretty intense. I don't want to say intense. There were some pretty intense hills, long, steep hills, but then you also got to go downhill. But yeah, I think it was front loaded. The tough stuff was front loaded at the beginning, and then we finished out with some nice flat trails around the outside of the lake again. It was really nice. I enjoyed it. We had a shit ton to do, and I kept going back and forth whether we should go and do it or just stay here and start getting ready more for the cold. And finally, it was just like, I'm going, and I was glad we did. I was really glad we did. It was nice to get out in the sun. It was nice to get out and enjoy the outside before a week of trying to just stay inside. And I got all the shit done anyway. I got all the stuff I needed to. It got done a little later at night than I wanted. Some of it had to get done in the dark. And then I finished up yesterday. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that cold out. So Rewilder Life says, poor Corey had to keep up with you. Yeah, so I guess there is this struggle with short little legs. We'd be going up a hill, and I would kind of glance over my shoulder, and she has me lead. And one, good morning, Hanging Laundry. How are we doing? I appreciate you stopping. And have a great day at work. Um, yeah, so I was taking GoPro camera footage. I had the camera on my chest, chest harness, and we were walking, and so I was leading. We were getting up one of these big hills towards the beginning, and I turned around and she was falling behind, and I just wanted to make sure that she was okay. That she didn't. It's pretty rough trail, so I want to make sure she can. I wanted to make sure she didn't hurt herself or twist her ankle or was struggling in any way. So I said, "Hey, you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, I just got these tiny little legs, these short little legs back here." So got to the top and slowed down a little bit. She caught up. But I guess when I posted that in the chat, Rachel says it is the struggle. The struggle is real. The struggle is real for the short leggers trying to keep up with the tall people. And Rachel wasn't the only one to confirm. Carrie Brown from Strong Roots Resources also was commiserating with Corey with the short legs. Hey, K-Bonk, thanks for hitting the thumbs up. You got to take off. I appreciate you swinging in anyway for a couple minutes, and we'll talk to you soon. Have an awesome day. Stay warm. So the hike was awesome. We swung in and got a burger again at the wall that the restaurant we stopped at last time. Classic rock themed. It was burger was good. I like the place. It's solid food. It's a good spot. The price is good. The service was good. The kid that was our server was just getting absolutely hammered with tables when we got there. It was like at the end of his rush, and man, he was running around like crazy. Took a little longer than it did before, but I appreciated how busy he was and the intention he was able to provide us, and the service was fine. And after the rush kind of calmed down a little bit, it was just as fantastic service as before. So being in the restaurant industry as long as I had, I really noticed that shit and try to commiserate with the people. And if they're putting forth an effort, it is still quality service, even if it takes a little longer. If the guy's running his ass off and putting in the effort. So excuse me, dry in here with running the wood stove full blast. I think we started it yesterday. Was it yesterday morning? Saturday afternoon? One of those times we started it, and it hasn't stopped since. So it's been quite dry in here and a little bit of dry throat. So I apologize for the coughing today. But anyway, got back from our hike and kind of settled in, and when we started making a plan, we looked at the weather forecast. Like I said, it's pretty much a week solid till we're back above freezing consistently, to where I'll feel comfortable filling the water back up in the camper. One thing we decided to do with these sub-zero temps or it's not sub-zero, I guess there is sub-zero on the forecast now. It's been kind of bouncing around. The lowest low, I think it's tomorrow night, Tuesday night overnight. And it's been bouncing around like 1 degree, 5 degrees, 7 degrees. And I opened up my phone this morning and it says -2. And I'm like, son of a bitch. I didn't want to see negative. I don't want to see any of it. I don't want to see the snow. I don't want to see single digits. I prefer not to see sub 32. But now we got negative. We got negative in the forecast. It is what it is. But with the temperatures now becoming above freezing, we do have the skirting. We do have an undercover. And we do get some heat transfer from the camper down into there. Not as much as we would if we were running the propane furnace, because the wood stove heat is just radiant and it's not forced air like the furnace. We decided that we didn't want to deal with frozen tanks, with frozen lines, with any of that shit. And since we have a water spigot right here, which fingers crossed, and that is one of my my biggest worries about this whole thing. Since we have a water spigot right in the yard here, I we made the decision to drain the water tanks and run out of jerry cans, run out of all our fresh water jugs. We keep 6 to 7 jugs, 6 to 7 gallons of fresh filtered water pretty much consistently. We run through it and kind of top it off and drain it down and top it off and drain it down, depending on how hot it is, how backed up we get on our on the Berkey and things like that. So we just made the decision that we were going to fill up jerry cans. We filled up the cooler outside, our knockoff Yeti cooler, our Arctic cooler. We filled that to the brim with water and sealed it up. So that's kind of a big experiment to see how well insulated that was. Basically in reverse. We're not trying to keep it cold. We're trying to keep it from freezing, and we'll see what happens. If anything else, it freezes solid and we let it sit outside when it thaws out and dump it out. But we're just trying to get a little more water. Last year when we were down in Texas and we had a freeze, I had access to a bunch of 5-gallon buckets, food grade 5-gallon buckets at that I could fill up and use over the time period. But my biggest worry is we're going to run shy on water. We have a very, very, very high water consumption because of even when we're not planning on showering, basically during this cold snap. But with the dogs, they drink so much. They drink so much that we have to keep up with it. And it's not just the sheer fact that they drink a lot. It's the rinsing out their bowl, trying to get rid of the slobber, stain and nastiness in there, the residual. So we consume a lot of water with them. So my biggest fear is that we start running shy of water and the spigot also goes sideways with the extreme cold temps, not just the sub freezing, but now into the single digits and a couple of hard freezes. They didn't set up the water here for that. So it is underground to where I access it. So I'm hoping that between draining the hoses, leaving the hose open, and having the water spigot subterranean, I guess below ground in a little sump that is pretty filled with leaves and things. So it's hopefully insulated enough. It's got a cover over it. Now there's snow on top of it. I'm just hoping that we don't lose a line, that we have access to that spigot, because I just didn't have the capacity to store any more water. And I didn't, A, have the room inside to store it, and B, I didn't have the containers to put it. I could have filled 70-gallon tank in the back of my pickup truck, but it would have froze. So basically we're running on low on water conservation as much as we can. And then once the water doesn't work out in the yard, then we got to figure out, we got to scramble. Corey and I are pretty confident in the fact that we could gather a lot of snow at the moment and melt that down. And since we filter our water anyway, it's not a big deal. There is a ton of snow outside, so we can get by with quite a bit for that. But I don't really want to do that. So we're hoping that the water holds out and everything holds out till at least I can go for a ride in the truck and go search some things out. I'm sure that our landowner here, if I contacted them, they would let us fill up jerry cans. I have no doubt about that. Or any of the neighbors for that fact. I just don't want to have to do that. I'd like to rely on myself. So that is my biggest worry. That is my biggest worry with the cold was the water. You would Gingerbread says, "Good morning, Gingerbread. Truck's completely dead, even though it was running. How does that work? Did you run out of fuel? How does the truck die while it's running? Bad alternator?" And he says, "Yellow snow is very flavorful." Very true. Very true. Has a urine-y tinge to it. But that is the biggest worry, is the water for me. You would think that it would be the cold, with all the cold, the single digits and everything, but we do have three sources of heat, and I'm excited about that. You know, the old saying, two is one is none, and three is for me. Yeah, three sources of heat right now. Actually, four if you count the truck. Like, if everything completely went sideways, we could go jump in the truck and turn the heater on. It is super warm in the truck, and I have at least 10 gallons of fuel in the back of the truck, and I also have a full tank right now. So we'll be able to stay warm for quite a bit of time, or be able to get somewhere where we can stay warm. So that's good. That is good. And yeah, so heat is good. We have the wood stove. We have that cranking. It's working fairly well. I'm curious to see what happens when it gets down into the single digits. We've yet to experience single digits with the wood stove and the lack of insulation in the trailer. So it's going to be interesting to see when it drops tonight and tomorrow night. I think tonight we're supposed to get down to 8. Tomorrow night was that -2. I don't know. I'll see. It'll it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the stove keeps up. We have some contingencies if it doesn't keep up, if it just gets too cold in here to really stand it. Luckily it's overnight. Luckily and not luckily and curse, I guess. It's overnight. We don't have to sit out and hang out in it. We can be cuddled up in blankets and in bed or whatever. But we also have to monitor the temperatures in here. We don't want it to go sub freezing or something like that. I'm sure we would wake up if that was the case. So our backup contingency is the propane furnace. We did a little testing yesterday. We fired it up and made sure it came on, because we haven't used it in quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, probably a year and a half, I don't think, since we've turned it on. I think maybe the last time we ran the propane furnace might have been on our trip back from Squatch Fest, or some of the times while we're back in Minnesota. I don't recall running it. I don't recall running it a whole lot other than that. So we have the wood stove, we have the backup propane furnace, and Corey also has her small electric space heater that she started using in the back room and where she's working now, because the wood stove heat doesn't really push back there all that well. So with the three of those, I figure we should be pretty good to bring it up 20, 30, 40 degrees. And if we can keep it above 45 up into the 50s, it'll be tolerable. We woke up this morning and it was in the low 40s. We stoked up the stove and got it nice and hot, and it came up to 50. So we got about a 30-degree delta there. We'll see how it goes. We've worked out shifts. I've mentioned before that cubic mini wood stove, I love it. The biggest thing I have an issue with it is the small size, which is the reason we got it, but you can't load it full of wood. You load it full of wood, you have about 2 hours at full capacity, or at full blast, like with all the vents open, all the flues open, so that it burns as hot as possible. You get about 2 hours if you completely stack it full of decent wood. So we had to come up with a way to keep it going overnight. 2 hours isn't very, very long once you go to sleep. And so we worked out a schedule. Corey and I worked out a schedule to hopscotch each other and each take a shift at night. So basically, I stay up a little later. Normally, we go to bed at 8, 9 o'clock. I'm staying up to more 10:30, really packing the stove full. Corey's going to bed at a normal time, a little earlier, actually closer to 8. And she's getting up about midnight, 12:30, and really filling up the stove. And then it's my turn to get back up 2:33-ish and fill it. And then we both get up around 5:15. And we can fill it again. So we kind of set up those shifts, and it was going to work great. Last night I stayed up a little later, filled that stove up, got it going, and I assume she got up at midnight. It didn't get that cold in here, so I have to assume she got up. And I set an alarm to get up at 2:30. I woke up, and it was super cold in here. I had to take a pee. I woke up and I was like, man, it's awfully cold. I wonder if that fire burned out quick. I looked at my phone and it was 3:15. My alarm didn't go off. I looked at it this morning. I didn't look into it that much last night. I just got up and got the fire going, which it was too long. It took too long for me to get up. There was still hot coals in there, but not enough to fire it back off completely. So I had to sit there and dick around with it, trying to get it started again. Woke up completely, so I couldn't fall back to sleep for quite a while. Hunter says missed fire watch. Yeah, for sure. What happened was I set an alarm for 2:30 a.m. I made sure it was 2:30 a.m. and not 2:30 p.m. because I'm not usually setting an alarm for 2:30 in the morning. I made sure, and then this morning when I looked, I didn't set it for Monday. It was set for every day of the week except for Monday. So yeah, I screwed that up, but I got up. I got it half lit. Corey said when she went to stoke it this morning, the majority of it had caught, but there were some logs that were just charred in there that hadn't really gone. So that was a function of it getting too cool and the coal bed not being there to hot enough to start the bigger logs that I threw in. And the worst part is I threw the big logs in and I was like, I threw a fire starter in. I kind of dicked around with it, trying to make it work. And at that point, once they've kind of caught a little bit, I don't have the wherewithal to take them out. So I don't know. I didn't know what to do. I just kept trying to light it. And it lit enough that it kept us warm enough until morning, and now it's roasting nice. That little stove does a pretty good job. It does a pretty good job. We get the right wood in it, man. You get some really dry hardwoods in there, and she cooks for sure. The Eco Fan on top, that thing is fantastic. I don't know if you know what those are, but basically it's a fan that sits on top of a wood stove, not necessarily just our wood stove, but any wood stove. And there's no plug, there's no electricity, there's no batteries, there's no anything. As the stove heats up, the heat, the vibrations, everything create enough power to power a fan. And basically you set it on top of the stove. Once you start the stove, the blade starts spinning. Once it warms up enough, and it just blows the heat off the stovepipe and the top of the stove that's radiating up with no electricity. So I really like it. Stirling engine, yeah. And Hunter says it works if you dangle it over a buddy heater. Oh, the Eco Fan works if you dangle it over a buddy heater too. Nice. I can see that. There is a handle that pulls out of the top that I could see you could suspend it. So that's pretty cool. Nice. I didn't know that. Did you know that the buddy heater hack with the grate of the buddy heater? So all these rednecks that fish up in Minnesota, we all use buddy heaters. well, not all of us, but the majority of people that used heaters in ice houses, whether it be portable or permanent ice houses or ice castles, if they didn't want to use their propane furnace, whatever, buddy heaters are very, very, very popular for outdoor recreation in deer blinds and all sorts of stuff. Well, if you didn't know, the grate on the front of your buddy heater, so there's the buddy heater sits there, and it's got the grate on the front so you don't burn yourself. If you unhook the grate from the bottom and you swing it up and lock it in place, you can then set a little pot or a pan or a can of soup or something on the grate, and the heat warms up whatever you're cooking there. Rewilders Life says, oh yeah, we cook on yours. Yeah, but you're in Michigan. You're in Michigan. You use yours quite often. These people that get the buddy heaters, like I saw a ton of people posting in Tennessee that have buddy heaters that were smart enough to grab them for backup heat. I'm imagining that they sit in a shed and they don't use them ever. And when they pull them out, they're just using them for heat. You just never think about the fact that grate, that was intentionally made that way. And I don't think anybody really realizes it. So it's pretty cool. It was a nice way to cook out on the ice. If you brought a little, we always had a collapsible little fry pan that you could throw a little snow in there, melt the snow, and throw some hot dogs or whatever in there and heat them up on top of that buddy heater. It was always solid way to go. Solid way to go. So you don't have to bring an extra little camp stove or something. See, that's worth the price of admission this morning. Rewilder Life says Northwood Rednecks. Yeah, for sure. For sure. When you got to drag all your shit out on the ice and walk through all the snow, you want to bring as little as possible. You got to unpack it. You got to pack it back up. You're freezing your ass off. You'll learn how to make do for sure. For sure. Yeah, so buddy heater. I hope everybody else is staying warm. Man, I'm sorry. I have like this dog hair floating around in my mouth this morning, and I can't quite get it. It's yeah, it's the struggle is real with St. Bernard's, guys. The hair is everywhere and it's never gone. So it ends up in weird places. Yesterday I had a piece in my eye. This morning it's in my mouth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. What else from the weekend? Wood. Man, I stacked two loads from off-grid ping this previous week in order to get a little ahead. Rewilder Life says it's worse when it's in your eyeball. Eyeballs are really bad. It feels like 4,000 grains of sand underneath your eyelid. But anyway, I knew it was going to be cold. Obviously, the forecast was there. And so I grabbed 2 loads of wood this week from Jamie's. I don't know if it's going to be enough. I don't. I got some really good stuff, and then I had been like saving the pithy softwood or semi rotted stuff that really wasn't burning that hot. I was just kind of setting that off to the side. I might end up having to start mixing it in. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of evaluating how fast we're going through it. But I don't think we've really run the stove 24/7 and also full blast since we've been here. Even if we tried to run it overnight, we weren't getting up and keeping it going the full night. And even if we were running it at night, we necked it down. We went to half on both louvers, or both vents or whatever, flues. I don't know what you call them. The airflow, we restricted it back to half. Man, with this weather, it's full blast all the time, and it chews through wood. So it'll be interesting to see if I have enough. I do have other sources here close. The landowner does have a bunch of piles out there that he says I could have access to, so I'm not worried necessarily about running out, but it's kind of like the water. I don't like to be a drain on anyone else when they're trying to get through shit too, because this is not normal here. This is an event for sure. It is an event that doesn't happen every year. So people are trying to deal with their own shit. I don't need to be a burden on them. But, the wood's out. back there. Like I just have to walk out and grab some, but I try to be prepared for myself. It's in my nature. So hopefully that pile is big enough. This is because Gingerbread says, does the Mini have a catalytic afterburn? It does. It does. Up in the top. Up in the top, it's got a reburn chamber, and it works well. It's got to be the right wood. You can definitely tell when you get a nice solid piece of hardwood in there compared to not. I reached out to Bruce DeVries, that was at SRF making biochar, and I'm very interested in his feedstock he was using. He said it's dried up over the winter. I was asking him because I was curious. He was getting cutoffs from mills, and they were a very good size. I mean, they were the size of maybe a tennis ball or smaller. But they were very consistent. It's a holiday, Hunter. I wasn't sure. Yeah, it is Martin Luther King Day today. Martin Luther King Day. I don't know who else has it off. Government employees, schools, and the such, but not normal people, I guess. Post office is closed. I know that. But he was getting these cutoffs from mill, and they were hardwood cutoffs from lathes. I think it might have been furniture legs or something like that, but super consistent, super the right size, very hardwood, and they burned phenomenally to make the biochar that he was making them. And I was just like picturing filling the stove with them. And he would get them in tubs or sacks or garbage can or something. And I reached out. I was like, I gotta source this. I gotta get not your source, but the type of business you were getting those from, because I think they would burn phenomenally in the stove, and it would cut out all the dicking around, cutting the wood down to size. They would basically be like toss them in. So that's my goal. It's kind of irrelevant at this point. But with the winter, like by the time I sourced them and figured it out, I don't think I'm going to need it that much longer. Looking at the weather forecast and even the long term, it's going to be snaps. It's going to be short snaps here or there, if that. I don't think we're going to go through another week like this. Maybe in February. From talking to people, this is a once in every few years event. So I don't see it happening again. We'll have some cold days, but not this sustained. So I think it's a goal for next year, wherever we decide we're gonna sit down for winter. If we're gonna have to be running the stove, if it's not super hot all winter, then I'll probably look locally for a source for something like that, hardwood scrap, and run it that way. I don't know. Had a really nice source of wood this year. Jamie out there at Off Grid Ping was nice enough to offer up his wood pile, and we've been working through it. And now it's kind of working out because he wants to start a new one with some better seasoned wood under cover and whatnot. So we're getting rid of this stuff. It's burning. It's working. It's keeping the trailer warm. It's not damaging the stove. It's not that bad of wood, but it's just not. I can get into some stuff that just doesn't put off a lot of heat, and it is what it is. And I know that it's free. Well, free for barter, but free for me. Free enough for me. I'm not buying it at the gas station like I was last year. And I talked to Corey and I was like, man, if we were buying bundles of wood like we were last year to take the chill off in Texas, we definitely would have broke the bank buying wood this year, because we were running quite a bit of fire. So that is the change. We did look at each other this weekend and say, man, next year, if we're staying here, we're definitely going to be in a structure. We're going to be in a small cabin somewhere if we're staying, if we're going to be here. So plans are and goals this year are to pick up a small property in Tennessee, whether that be for majority of the year time, whether it be just a home base, whether it be just property one, whatever it turns out to be. If we're going to stay at it next year, the goal is also to have a hard-sided structure that's insulated properly and has a stove in it to where, man, this stuff comes and basically we just hunker down and hang out. Hunker down and hang out and keep the stove going. So that is kind of the plan. The trailer is not, this travel trailer is not ideal for this temperature. So that is the goal if we're going to be here. Otherwise, we're going to be making sure we have plans to be somewhere else where it doesn't necessarily get this cold for this long. But we also know that we can make it through if we have to. So cold snap. What else on my list here? Any sports ball fans out there watching the events of this weekend with the NFL playoffs? Buffalo game got moved. That's my team since I was a little kid. Don't necessarily follow a ton of football anymore, but this time of year, if they're still playing, I check in. I see what's going on. Still get a little excited inside when they're doing well. So keeping an eye on things. It looked like Buffalo was slated to play yesterday, and they were supposed to get like 1 to 3 feet of snow. No big deal. Lake effect is the real deal, guys. I've talked about it on the show before. Lake effect in New York State is the real deal. And when they say 1 to 3 feet of snow, they're not doing it because they need a big wide range. They're saying 1 to 3 feet, depending on where you're at and what way the wind blows and how hard. Because if anything switches, if the wind direction, the wind speed switches, the snow dumps somewhere else. So if you don't know what lake effect snow is, basically the wind blows along Lake Erie or Lake Ontario across the lake, picking up moisture the whole way, and it gets to the shore and then it drops. And if it's a solid, consistent wind in the same direction, it dumps all that moisture and the form of snow in one area. And basically, you can be 20 miles away and get nothing. It'll be sunny and beautiful, and they're getting just absolutely pounded in the area really close to you. So that's kind of how that goes. And really, they had it forecasted to just dump where the stadium was. I saw pictures yesterday from about the time the game was supposed to go on. And if you wanted to watch it on TV, it wouldn't have happened because you'd just been watching a white screen unless the players had the cameras on them. And so that was interesting. So they had delayed the game. It's supposed to be today. I don't know if it's going to happen today. I don't know if they've switched it. I don't pay attention enough that much. But there's probably a possibility that they push it again till tomorrow. Just because I don't know if the players will be able to get to the stadium. The fans are irrelevant. I don't know if the Pittsburgh team can get to Buffalo. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if they play this afternoon. But that was an interesting turn of events. I've been to some pretty snowy games up in Buffalo. I don't think I've ever been to one where they had 2 feet of snow. I don't recall 2 feet. I recall some pretty crazy ice storms getting there. I recall some pretty crazy snows like the week before. I don't ever remember a game on game day where it snowed that much. Yeah, went to a lot of games, but I don't remember anything like that. So good luck to them. It'll be fun, I guess. A couple things before I wrap up here. I filled up. I was sitting here thinking. So the new year here, going into the new year, I had that heart-to-heart with old Toolman about kind of the direction of what I was doing with everything, with the podcast, with the YouTube channel, with cash flow and things like that. And, he set me straight and he said, well, what are you making money on? What are you currently making money on? Focus on that. So that's the kind of path this year is making money. Weird. And really focusing on the things that were already working. One of those things is the YouTube membership. level tiers. When we monetized, I looked into it. I set it up. I wasn't really happy with the way I set it up because I was trying to do too much. Now I put the tiers out there. I filled them all up. They allow you to put 6 different levels out there. I filled them up. And right now, basically, it's bare minimums. I put the rewards, the things you get for membership. I put them bare bones. I threw out some minimum stuff all the way through. I think it's more of a vehicle to support the show if you like it. If you find value and want to return value in that form, it's just another way to be out there. As membership grows, if membership grows, things will get added in. I'm really contemplating doing some interviews. I have some people I want to talk to. I have some people I want to interview. I don't think I'm going to go back to an interview schedule like every Monday I was, or every Monday and Thursday. I think it's going to be a random when the person's available, when I have time. And I think those things will become members only, at least the live for sure. And who knows, maybe the after effect, the audio, the video after. But I threw them out there. I put them out there. I called them the Coffee Crew. I'm really focused on growing the live stream and the live audience. And you guys in the live audience, I appreciate you every morning. This is what I'm trying to grow. As a byproduct, we'll grow the audio. I think the audio will get better as I'm more comfortable. And this is the style that is really comfortable. I've gone to this kind of morning radio show, morning talk show type of format before a couple times, and it's the one I'm most comfortable at. So I'm going to roll with it because it's my show. But that's I threw those out there. I threw everything from $1.99 a month all the way up to I think $25 a month or $50 a month. Why not? Why not? It didn't cost me anything to put them up there other than a minute or two to select out the prices and all that. So that's all out there. If you look down below the screen, I think there's a $sign or something where you can join that if you want. I appreciate you thinking about it and considering it. So that is up there. And like I said, as memberships grow, I'll take feedback from people that are members or considering being members with things that they want to add to those membership tiers. So just throwing that out there, got it up. And, because I don't hate money, I guess. I do not hate money. Another thing from the weekend, a little change to the show is Tim, again, Toolman Tim posted that Rumble now has a static stream key, which if you don't live stream, you have no idea what that means. But basically, Rumble was only getting my re-uploads. The live wasn't going there because it was an absolute pain in the ass to set it up. I was having to go in every day, get a new key, set the thing up on Rumble, copy, paste. And I shouldn't say it was pain in the ass. It was an extra like 8 minutes or 5 minutes or something I just never remembered to do. And then it wasn't common practice. Well, they changed it to be like YouTube and Facebook and all the places I stream, where you just have a static stream address. So Rumble is a click of the button now, and it goes just like everything else. So live streaming to Rumble, I think I got a green check mark up on the Rumble thing. I set it up yesterday, and it looks like it's working. So more viewers over there. That's another thing like Twitch. I go to Rumble very infrequently when I happen to pull it up. It's not something I use. So yeah. If you're over on Rumble, I don't know if I can even see the comments from Rumble or not in my dashboard here. We'll find out. I'll get somebody to do some testing for me at some point. But now on Rumble every day, not just after the fact when YouTube decides to shoot it over there and copy it. So other than that, guys, we're coming up on an hour. We're gonna have to go out and walk these dogs in the snow. Good morning, Pickle Pete. Thanks for swinging in. Better late than never. Always better late than never. I appreciate you showing up and hitting that like and getting that view time. It's what it is. It all adds up. Anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up here. I appreciate you listening. If you enjoyed the show, it is always free to hit that like, share, and subscribe. To return value for value, please consider joining one of the YouTube membership tiers or listening on any value for value platform like Podverse, Wavelake, or Fountain.fm. You can always stream those sats or boost anywhere value for value is participated in. You can visit thelotsproject.com to find out more information or find all my links. I appreciate it, guys. I appreciate hanging out. I hope you have an awesome Martin Luther King Day. If you have it off, if you got to work, it is what it is. If it's cold where you are, stay warm. If it's warm where you are, stay cool. I appreciate you hanging out, and we will circle back and catch up with you tomorrow.
I can see the light.